a special Saturday at this historic racetrack as we honor one of the all-time fan favorites, Fourstardave. Casa Creed doing his best impersonation of the Sultan of Saratoga. 7-year-old returns to the spot for a 6th summer, looking to go back-to-back in this Grade 1 turf event. Annapolis will try to add a second Grade 1 win to his resume. Can he turn the tables on Casa Creed after a runner-up finish to him in the Grade 3 Kelso? And Rhyme Scheme showed major talent in his maiden win at Ellis Park. Can he reproduce that performance today in the Grade 2 Saratoga Special for trainer Norm Cassie? All that and more coming up on a special Saturday edition of Saratoga Live. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. A gorgeous Saturday afternoon here in upstate New York at this beautiful facility. And a tremendous crowd on hand. Looking forward to one of the great Saturdays we have here at the meet. Hello, everybody. I'm Greg Wolf. Great to have you with us on our FS1 coverage to one of the most iconic and historic racetracks in any sport. So many greats have stamped their legendary status with big wins here, but maybe none were more popular than the horse we honor today in Fourstardave. For 8 consecutive summers, he would come here to the spa and win. And it just built and built and built, and he became one of the all-time fan favorites here, of course, buried in Clare Court, and still to this day receives flowers at his gravesite here on this racetrack site. We're going to look for a horse who is going for his 4th win in 6 tries here at Saratoga. Casa Creed looking to go back-to-back in the Fourstardave. As we take a look at our program, what's ahead. We're going to kick off the action in just about 7 minutes here. This is presented by Claiborne Farm. 2-year-olds will kick things off in a moment. Here's our John Deere track conditions. Main track fast, turf course listed good as we get set to kick things off. Casa Creed, pretty incredible story here as I welcome in Hall of Fame rider Gary Stevens, 4-time Major League All-Star Paul LaDuca. We've seen him a lot here and sort of a little bit like Fourstardave and how many times he has come here. Actually broke his maiden here as a 2-year-old. Not many have won this race 2 times. He'll try and do that today.
Yeah, and I like his chances. He's 3 for 5 over this race course, loves it up here. And I'll tell you what, I'm not sure if he's getting better with age, but he loves to win. He's competitive, sprinting, 2 turns, and I think 2 turns is his best distance, guys.
Yeah, you make such a good point, Gary. He's just a win machine, right? He's 8 for 32 lifetime. 3 of his wins are here at Saratoga. He loves it up here. He's 7 years old right now, and you can argue he is, like you said, thriving. It might be the best Casa Creed we've seen. And as he's gotten older, Greg, I think the mile distance is, he might prefer it a little bit more than maybe a sprint distance, which, you know, earlier in his career, he was just a 6-7 furlong horse, but man, he loves it up here at the spa.
Oh, you saw that big smile on the man there with the white jacket. That's Lee Einseidler, his owner, and he called the win in this race last year. He's been in this game for a couple of decades with a lot of horses. The most gratifying win he's probably ever had because they proved a lot of people wrong with that win.
Yeah, no one thought he could get 2 turns. He was so good sprinting. But I think what's happened with his age and his knowledge and his experience racing, that he can take it easy on himself. He gets position and he can take it easy on himself, and he's still got that good turn of foot at the last quarter of a mile.
Yeah, he's kind of like a really smart horse, like kind of horse you would love to ride because he kind of just puts you wherever you need to be, whether the pace is slow or it's fast.
Grade 3 Kelso win here at the meet. He'll try and add a Grade 1 Fourstardave for a 2nd year in a row. Only Wise Dan got Stormy, and of course, the horse this race is named after, when it was the Darrell's Joy, would win 2 runnings of this race. Pretty elite list. He could play all the action by getting signed up. Started with Naira Bets. New members, that's the code to punch in at sign up spot 200. Get that $200 deposit match sign up bonus at nairabets.com. And bet with us all summer long and beyond. We're going to kick things off with a New York bred maiden special weight. So everybody trying for that first win of their career. And we have a Bob Baffert sighting here. Tall Paul, start number 2. Debuted actually out on the West Coast at Del Mar. He was quick early, backed up late to 3rd, the odds-on favorite here.
Yeah, and we have a Bob Baffert tweeting in right now. He wants to know what we think about Tall Paul.
All right, hopefully it's positive things. We'll see. Here's Stormy's Dreaming, debuting for Charlie Baker.
Yes, son of Always Dreaming, a New York bred here with Dylan Davis. Not getting much play. The workouts in the morning been so-so.
Apollo Cold, boy, did this horse go wide in the debut on that sloppy track at Monmouth.
Yeah, and there's a horse that, you know, has experience, and experience sometimes can win over, Gary.
Absolutely.
30-1, Strawberry Quick.
Strawberry Quick for Stacy Torelli. Union Jackson gelding. But all the money's on this horse right here, Greg. Tall Ball for Bob Baffert. And usually that West Coast speed translated out to here.
Yeah, and he was showed a lot of speed, and they bet him that day.
Mama's Midi, start number 2, and the blinkers go on.
Yeah, blinkers going on. 7-2 on the morning line. Got some decent works. Had that one race and closed at B second.
Larry Ravelli, a lot of buzz about a horse he has later in the card. He has Gucci Man debuting.
Yeah, you know, this horse does have some bullets in the holster, and Larry's very good. Look at his percentage with 2-year-olds, 24%. And then that's the outside horse there, Gary, the gray, Quiet Wisdom, been working well for Todd Pletcher.
Yeah, he kind of showed his hand in his last workout. Had a black letter work here, worked a minute flat out of the gate.
Dam produced Curlin's Wisdom, by the way, the 8 Quiet Wisdom. It was a 5-time winner. And that's been the only foal to run to this point. Stakes placed against New York breds as well, with more on the 4-5 favorite here for Bob Baffert. Let's welcome in for the first time today, Maggie Wolfendale.
Thanks, Greg. And we'll check in with this speedy New York bred by Fourstardave, who is trying to take on New York breds for the first time here. Ran well, I think, in defeat. I know the race didn't come back that quick, but the first time starter that beat him that day was for Doug O'Neill and looked quite promising in Raging Torrent. And look, Tall Paul, excuse me, ships in here. He looks quick, he's well muscled, he's being professional. I have no problems with him whatsoever. But another horse that has started coming in here against New York breds for the first time, I think is a bit intriguing, and that's number 3. Look how lovely he looks out on the racetrack. He's been so professional, so laser focused here for Jorge Delgado. And as you guys were talking about, he went so wide in that debut, but it wasn't by any fault of his own. It was by fault of the winner who just carried him out. No foul per se. I think just greenness. And then just because that horse started getting out, he just started kind of going out with him just to kind of stay away from him. I love the way he's put together. He's really well muscled. And like I said, he's done everything right so far in these preliminaries, and like the warm-up that he's giving here with Ricardo Santana aboard as he does apply a pair of shortcut blinkers. I'm going to try with him getting on a fast track too for the first time. Now, number 6, Mama's Midi. He ran really well. Maybe it's just a slow race and he just did the most running of some okay horses, some mediocre horses late. He was fractious at the gate, and leading up to that point, he was really badly behaved too. They took him forever to get the tackle in. Well, today it's the same song and dance. It's like they haven't even schooled this horse. He reared up, got his leg over the shank briefly. Luckily, he didn't end up loose. He's calmed down a little bit since getting out on the racetrack, and he too is applying a pair of shortcut cheater blinkers. But it's your second start. You're supposed to be at least a little more well-behaved and a little bit more professional. We'll see if he's more professional during the running of the race, because he was green in the early stages. We'll see if he puts himself in the race a bit more. Now, the first-time starters, number 8, Quiet Wisdom, as you heard Greg talk about. Lovely pedigree on this horse. And if you go back a generation, the dam's a half to the very good Connect, who is a pretty good sire in his own right. I get the feeling, though, that this guy's wants to go a little bit further here for Todd Pletcher. Doesn't really present himself as I know comes in with a good work, and I respect that, but just his frame, his pedigree, to me, he might want a little bit further than this 6 furlongs here at Fourstardave. Now, he's fit, but he also looks as though he needs to strengthen up. He's a little bit of a leaner, kind of tubular frame. Had some skin disease. He just didn't make the best of impressions, but there are some intangibles, like the pedigree, Greg, that we talked about, and connections, that make him a useful runner in this field.
One of the absolute best in the business, debuting 2-year-olds, especially here at Saratoga. That barn of Todd Pletcher with the 8. Back to this horse. And thank Frank Miramati for this. He told us, Paul Whiteman, co-owner here, part of this partnership, that they've produced some pretty good ones in the past. Looking at Lucky, Midnight Luke, McKinsey. They're here with Tall Paul, and this horse was quick early. It's a race where there was that highly regarded Miramati horse named after Frank, our track announcer, wound up 4th in here.
Yeah, and this horse, he broke extremely fast. Wasn't hustled hard to get the lead, and he actually hung in there pretty good. This was a tough maiden special here. Thing I like about it, they got him out of there shortly after this race because he's got to work over this racetrack here at Saratoga. He ran on the 23rd of July, came back on August 6th, went in 48-2, just a little stretcher legs after that first race. So they had a plan with this New York bred of getting him out here for the money.
Yeah, and listen, they paid $475,000 for him. So I'm kind of like Gary. It was actually a pretty sneaky good race. He was second choice in that race. And like I said, when the California dirt horses come out here, they show their speed. They're usually very, very fast. And I would think that this horse is going to break out there running. It's just going to depend on the first-time starters, Greg, which one's going to go. Can Mama's Midi break a little bit better? And can Apollo Code, putting the blinkers on, improve? You know, second start, usually they all improve, you know?
See what happens. Apollo Code, we'll find out. First time on a fast surface. It was a sloppy wet track at Monmouth in that debut. Did take some money. The winner of that race would come back in a stakes race in the Tyro and not show a whole lot. So hard to make of how good the competition was that day, but talked about how wide that horse had to go. It was almost closer to the outer rail than the inner rail. But 4-5 favoritism on one we know who's going to be very quick early. Tall Paul, that 5 horse in the background, the 4-5 favorite for Bob Baffert. Joel Rosario aboard. And we'll see if he could take it to this group early or if he gets a little company up front. We kick off this Fourstardave Saturday card with a New York bred 2-year-old maiden race. Let's go upstairs to Frank Miramonte to get us started.
Thank you very much, Greg. They are moving into line. Tall Paul Whiteman, one of my lesser known impressions, but it's a pretty accurate one. His namesake goes in. Mama's Midi going up. Gucci Man. And Quiet Wisdom to complete the line. Goes in. They're in the gate. And they're off, and Tall Paul flies out of the gate. Strawberry Quick has some early speed too, and Quiet Wisdom hustled up on the extreme outside. Apollo Code comes through at the rail. He's fourth, now third, and about 2 lengths off the speed. Mama's Midi is next, and it's a gap of 4. Back to Gucci Man, second to last, and Stormy's Dreaming at the back of the field. Tall Paul is the one to catch past the half-mile pole. He leads it by 3/4 of a length. Quiet Wisdom is trying to get by him. These two are dominating thus far, with Apollo Code 7 lengths back in third. Strawberry Quick is fourth. Then comes Mama's Midi and Stormy's Dreaming. 1/4 mile to go. Tall Paul, Quiet Wisdom duking it out. 6 back, Apollo Code gaining some momentum in third. 3/16 of a mile to go. Tall Paul on the inside. The gray Quiet Wisdom making him work every step of the way. On the inside, Stormy's Dreaming is trying to get into third. Far outside, Mama's Midi. And Tall Paul puts away Quiet Wisdom past the 16th pole. Tall Paul, too strong. Wins it by 3. Quiet Wisdom, a good debut. Then it was Strawberry Quick in third, followed by Apollo Code.
Tall Paul experience paying off here in a battle. It's a fun one to watch to kick off our card with Quiet Wisdom, the first-time starter in here, but it's the one with experience who gets the win.
Yeah, he's had the experience of a race under his belt. He's now he's shipped. He can prove that he can do that. And what he did inside the final 1/8 of a mile, he extended this lead. Quiet Wisdom, first-time starter, wandering around a little bit, getting tired late, but with that pressure early on, being down on the inside, very, very professional.
Yeah, and Joel never went to the crop till late in the race. You could tell on the far turn, listen, Luis Saez did the right thing. He knew he had to go after Tall Paul at the beginning of this race. Now they get to the far turn. Watch, you know, Gary knows this. Watch the hands of Luis Saez on the outside horse and look at Joel Rosario. He does not even go to the crop till he actually puts the horse away, Gary. He's going hands and heels right here all the way till he puts the gray away. Then he hits the horse one time with the crop, and it was basically over.
Yeah, he hadn't really asked him for his best until he threw that first cross, and he got busy from the shoulders down, and man, this colt, he's got beautiful action.
4-5 favorite to kick things off on this Saturday card. familiar silks there have had a lot of success together. Bob Baffert, Pegram, Watson, Whiteman, and Joel Rosario. And a horse, say it all the time, there's nothing like experience against a first-time starter, and this horse had it.
Yeah, and how many pictures does Mr. Stevens have on his wall with those silks on?
A lot of them. a lot. I'm thankful that I have them.
And maybe Point Given the best of all of them?
He was Thoroughbred Corporation.
Oh, he was?
Yeah,
okay.
they were the green and white silks, but Silver Bullet Day, real quiet. I finally got to ride him in the Pimlico Special. Too many to name, but a lot of winners for him.
4 to 5 here. New York bred who debuted out on the West Coast.
But again, Greg, we talk about this all the time. I've said this before. When the turf horses come here, it's tough. But the dirt horses in California, they're ridden for speed, speed, speed. And when they come over here, they're just so fast out of the gate, and they win the races out of the gate, Gary. The dirt speed is just different. Now, when it comes to turf, I think it's flip-flopped a little bit. Do you agree a little bit?
Yeah, I do. One thing, a big advantage is, in my eyes, over the past, I would say, 4 years especially, or 4 or 5 years, they've changed those surfaces out in California to a deeper, more eastern type of racetrack. They train them the same way as they had in the past for speed. But there's a lot of stamina that these horses possess now. When they ship out here, you had to do a lot of extra work with them if you wanted them right the first time they were coming here. But now they're training on the deeper, tiring tracks, more like an East Coast track, and you can see that with all the horses that Bob has sent in here. He knows what kind of horse it takes to come in here and get the money.
So Tall Paul kicks things off, flashing that speed and graduating to get that first win here. Start number 2, Quiet Wisdom, first timer for Todd Pletcher, winds up second and still able to create a little value with a 45-to-1 shot there, completing that trifecta. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher, he'll have 2 chances to try and get the better of Casa Creed in the Fourstardave with a manual from the inside, and a rematch with Casa Creed with Annapolis, who was the runner-up to him in the Kelso.
Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf, War of Will became a classic winner with this victory in the Preakness Stakes. He added turf credentials to his resume with a determined victory in the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile. Now his progeny are bringing top dollar in the sales ring.
280,000 just way.
Get it back, 191,000. 150,000, Nader Tomas, thank you.
A dual surface classic winning son of Warfront, War of Will, standing at Claiborne Farm.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
Back with you on our Saturday coverage on FS1 of Saratoga Live. It's brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Our opener in the books, and we expected to see Tall Paul blast out of the gate with a speed he showed out on the West Coast. He does that, and this time he finishes getting a test from a first-time starter.
Yeah, and I like the race that he ran, the second-place horse. Showed great speed, tired a little bit. He's going to sleep well for the next couple of days.
Good battle on. Expect to see some fireworks later today. Some big performances. I think we have one of the most probably deep-loaded two-year-old races to come later in today's card. Seems like everybody in that race feels like they have a potential future star.
Well, when you look at the race, everybody's looking at rhyme schemes. And, I understand that this horse threw up an unbelievable effort second time out, but you have a lot of horses that have only had one start, and they can improve second time out with a lot of Hall of Fame trainers in there. And Norm Cassie's horses have come in here running. So I think they're going to have to run pretty fast to beat Rhyme Schemes, but I do not think Rhyme Schemes is a lock like a lot of people do. Walking in here, a lot of people think that horse is a lock.
I have to translate that form from Ellis Park, where speed was so dominant all meet long. Try and do it here at Saratoga. That's in the Saratoga Special. Our ABR race of the week, though. Race 9, 5:44 Eastern start time of the Grade 1 Fourstardave, where Casa Creed is the 7-5 morning line favorite, seeking his 4th win in 6 summers here at Saratoga. Let's meet the field that is going to line up here. Todd Pletcher, as we told you going to break, is going to send out 2 to go up against him, including Emmanuel from the inside, who comes off winning the Grade 3 poker.
Yeah, and he's 6 for 11 lifetime. Had one race here at Saratoga, didn't hit the board, but he really stepped it up in the poker last time out. Got a 100 speed buyer. I think if there's going to be an upset of Casa Creed today, he's the one that could do it.
Mark Cassie has one of the multiple winners of this race. He'll send out 3 in here, including full screen.
Yeah, and here's a horse he's only had in his barn now for his second start. His son of Big Screen will take the blinkers off. He's a big long shot, 30-1 on the line, but he does get Manny Franco, who's been riding well.
Cassie Barn with another long shot next door in My Sea Cottage, who is very quick.
He is very quick. Expect to see him on the lead. He's won 3 for 15, but he's coming out of a starter allowance, a couple of starter allowance races with a win last time out.
And then there's Grade 1 winner Annapolis. Going to get reunited with Casa Creed, who was a runner-up to him at this meet in the Grade 3 Kelso.
Yeah, and a lot of people will think, oh, the break got him, and it probably did, but he only's had 2 races since the Breeders' Cup Mile, so maybe he needed that last race. Again, he was a little bit washed out in his last race. If his pre-race antics are a little bit better today, I think he can maybe turn the tables on Casa Creed.
Probably going to be a very huge price on So High. Horses coming out of a Grade 1 at 1 mile and 3/8.
Yeah, and he was 58-1 that day. He did set the pace in there and faded late, but he got beat 3 1/4 lengths, 3.5 lengths for everything. Therapist won that race, so he's up against it today.
And here he is, such a neat horse, 7 years old, still going strong, the multi-millionaire, and the winner of this race last year, Casa Creed.
Yeah, you just look like a horse like this, and you look in the dictionary, and it just spells class, and that's all he is. He's 7 years old, like Greg said, $2.1 million in the bank, and he brings it every time he's on the race course.
And another of that Mark Cassie trio. Here's Ice Chocolate. Joel Rosario will ride.
Yeah, for the first time. And listen, he comes out at the Kelso. He had some trouble at the start of the race. He was 20-1 that day. He got beat 2.5 lengths. So he could pick up some pieces if the race completely falls apart.
Well, let's look back to earlier in this meet. Grade 3 Kelso. Casa Creed, Annapolis. Annapolis was actually the 4-5 favorite in this race. What was the difference in this race?
I think the start of the race. Annapolis has all these problems out of the gate, and he creates them themselves. And Casa Creed was in a perfect position. Annapolis was behind him. Casa Creed got the jump out of him. And Casa Creed's a horse that can out-kick him, and that's what he did here. And listen, I think their strategy is going to be to concentrate on hopefully he's going to break better today, and I think they want to be in front of Casa Creed early on. That's their only chance of beating Casa Creed.
I'm with you completely, Gary, and I thought that Luis Saez just made the split moment and a great decision to go, okay, I'm going to go 3 wide, get the kick on Annapolis because I know he can't run me down because I got plenty of horse here. Now, Annapolis, again, you saw in that replay, he was a tiny bit washed out. And Gary's right. He got left in the gate. He was a little bit awkward and got put behind the 8-ball. You look at Annapolis' early PPs, he used to show speed. Now the gate's his problem. He needs to solve that, or Casa Creed's going to beat him again.
Casa Creed, not just the rematch with Annapolis to deal with. He's got another horse from that barn who Maggie looks like he's really starting to come into his own right now as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, they certainly have the insurance plan with Emmanuel, who will break from the rail, Greg. And the rails are down on this inner turf course, which you're dealing with the prime real estate right there on the hedge, which Emmanuel can obviously secure. And what his Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher has said about him is that he's shown versatility. He can win on the front end and he can close, much like he did in this grade 3 poker, where he kind of substituted, if you will, for Annapolis in running in this race here today, or here that day. Coming in here off a little bit of a freshening, I think Todd's just looking for this horse to secure good position kind of going forward. And really, Emmanuel, what has he done wrong necessarily? He's had 7 starts on the turf, 4 wins, all of which in graded stakes, just missing that elusive grade 1 to his resume on the turf. Looking forward to this race though, guys. It's going to be quite a matchup.
Big effort last time out, Gary, and immediately, drawn inside. He gets a save ground from the outset.
Yeah, and I think that he's improving his 4-year-old year, and he proved that in the poker with that relentless run that he made. And I expect him to step forward again today.
That's a good point by Maggie. We talk about how these horses, Annapolis, is supposed to move forward. Emmanuel, as a 4-year-old, he could be jumping and he could be going straight forward. And I like the way he reached out there. He was 4 or 5 wide. And a lot of people say, well, he won by a little bit of a margin. But you know what? I thought it was a pretty good grind. That horse on the inside looked like he was going to win, and he kind of just kept on kicking and kicking in. In that relentless grind, you like horses like that try that hard.
Ortiz brothers, they've been out serving a suspension last 3 days of this week. Both are back. We expect to see them back with a vengeance. They'll be on that pair of runners in the Fourstardave for Todd Pletcher. Don't forget our late pick 5 seeded today. So we're going to be $100,000 in this pool from the outset on a Saturday, which means hit this late pick 5. Play it through Naira Bets. You're the only ticket that wins, and there's $1 million bonus on the line in addition to what you win in the late pick 5. So good luck to everybody. For more information, you can go to naira.com/pick5. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, as I just mentioned, they are back. Look out. Meets leading rider, Arad Ortiz Jr. His younger brother, Jose, out after serving 3-day suspensions. We expect to be calling their names quite a bit today. Stay with us.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with 1/8 of a mile to go. Express Train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan, who will romp in the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
They say breed the best of the best and hope for the best.
Macoma broke well on the outside.
But you don't expect to get speed like this.
Is Macoma the one to catch? Macoma has a 5-length lead in this grade 1 corner. Macoma continues to battle on down at the rail. It is Macoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
Reach for the unreachable. Race to new horizons. The artisan's quest for beauty burns in the heart of Japan, forging strength like no other. With love, and honed to perfection. Noble, authentic, and only here. The legacy of strength.
Let's face it, we all love ponies, but what is a pony at the racetrack? It's essential to a safe and functioning racetrack or training operation. And get this, it can really be any kind of horse. They're the coaches, the security blanket for the horses in training. So let's meet the ponies of Saratoga. Cherie DeVoe first met Zevo when she was an assistant trainer for Chad Brown. She quickly developed a soft spot for the personable bay, who showed his talent when he won the Suburban Handicap and ran second to Tonalist in the Jockey Club Gold Cup in 2014. A few years later, when Zevo was looking for a new career, Cherie and her sister Adrienne were more than happy to add him to their fledgling stable. Now, Zevo spends his day with the DeVoe team as the farm's stable pony.
Cherie kind of saw something sparkly in this little brown wrapper. He is a ham. We ride him around bareback. We let kids ride him all the time, and he'll walk himself into the office. He's just silly.
But Zevo's life on the racetrack isn't all fun and games. He spends his mornings teaming up with Cherie or Adrienne to show the ropes of the racetrack to the newest members of the DeVoe stable.
Zevo's main job as the pony, and most ponies on the racetrack, is to be like an emotional support animal for another horse. But horses of Zevo's caliber, especially with the fact that he was so tough as a racehorse, he gets it in his mind sometimes that he is still faster than some of these guys. You can tell how much he loved racing, but he immediately comes back down once he realizes this easy peasy life is more for him.
So great to learn the personalities of some of these horses. We've seen some really good horses transition because they don't want to go back to the farm, like Lava Man, who became a pony for a long time for Doug O'Neill.
Lava Man. I want to say that Ron Mulquette's going to make Whitmore a pony as well. Obviously, one of Ron's
Breeders' Cup Sprint winner.
Yeah, great horse as well. But yeah, you've seen some great ones there. That's a great piece right there. And you got to kind of like re-break him, right, Gary, to kind of retrain him a little bit because he's kind of like showing off. He wants to like take batting practice a little bit, right? He's showing off a little bit.
I had a pony that Jeff Mullins gave me when I was training, and he was by Stormcat, and he was unretrainable. He was difficult to ride in the morning. The only time he was good is when you put him to work. He was really good. If somebody was in trouble, he'd run to the rescue, and it'd get you right up next one. If I had to pick a horse up or something, he enjoyed that. But just being by himself, not a lot of fun.
This second race, 5.5 on the turf, a bunch of first-time starters, and then one horse who was beat to a horse who would come out of that victory to win it. Royal Ascot beating 26 runners in the Queen Mary. Let's go to Maggie for more.
That Stormcat line, Gary, they are tough to retrain at times, especially when you keep them on the racetrack. But taking a look at some of the first-time starters here in this field, we'll begin down on the rail with the Todd Pletcher trainee. That is revelatory. And a son of Munnings. This one, too, has a really nice pedigree for synthetic or turf, and the dams have to Biofuel, who is the Canadian Horse of the Year and champion 2- and 3-year-old, also have to 2 Andy Way, I should say, champion 2-year-old. So there's a lot of precocity in the pedigree too. And I know this isn't necessarily Todd's MO, but he's won with some horses in the past that are quick turf sprinters, and this looks like every single other one of them. Chestnut, sprinter, about as wide as he is tall, but really, really professional. He's acting like he knows what his job is and that he's going to go out there and do it. So I like what I'm seeing from Revelatory. As we'll move on to number 3, Reverend Moon. I love these Omaha beaches. Now, there isn't much pedigree on the bottom side, but watching the work 2 back on the turf set the pace for one that had already run before, a filly who finished 4th in her debut back at Belmont. And he never wanted to let her by. He was very much well in hand throughout. Now, he is a tank. He's another one as wide as he is tall. He looks fit enough, and as I always say with these turf sprints, you don't have to be, 110% fit. You just have to be quick, and I think that's what he is here. And again, really professional in debut. Now, number 1, All About Tonight's part of a 3 Diamonds entry here. This one for Mike Maker, and just really looks fit. A lot of times these Maker horses don't look that fit in their debuts, or they're a bit green, and this guy has been acting really good, and I like the work. It's a ways back in that gate work going 48 flat, but he broke so sharp and really extended his stride, really screamed turf sprinter stride to me. So I think he's interesting, and I wouldn't disregard the other part of the entry too. But let's check in with number 9. I think it was very ironic that King Julian is being ridden by Julian Leparoux for Brian Lynch shipping in here, a son of Kingman. The dam was a stakes-winning turf sprinter, half to a turf sprinter, stakes-winning turf sprinter by the name Wide West. I mean, this is what this horse was made to do, right? And he physically backs up that pedigree too. Now, I know it seems counterintuitive for Brian Lynch, who isn't stabled here, to ship a horse up that's not 100% fit, but he really looks like he's going to benefit from a start. He just looks as though he needs to tighten up a bit, but I still respect him here today. Greg?
5-1, yeah, got pedigree to be good on the grass. Dan was a stakes-winning sprinter on the turf. Maggie mentioned Wide West, who she produced. 5-1 from the outside post.
Yeah, and I like the horse. He's got... he's well meant. I'll just say that. When you see Brian's horses working like he's been working at Churchill Downs, show up at Saratoga, he came for a reason.
Yeah, he's getting bet. And for a horse that, like you said, ran second to a horse that went over to Royal Ascot, not to be odds on, there's probably some other runners in here. I mean, I get it. The 7 is probably the most likeliest winner and is a very, very nice filly, but there's probably some other ones that can run in here.
Here's all about tonight. Mike Maker barn, Manny Franco rides.
Yeah, and this horse is getting some action. I mean, he was 5-1 on the morning line, respecting Mike Maker entry here.
Joe Sharp with the other half of the entry.
Yeah, better luck. Dylan Davis aboard. He's got some decent works, consistent works coming from Churchill Downs Training Center.
Todd Pletcher with Revelatory gets the rail.
I like this horse a little bit because I think maybe drawing the rail will maybe force Irad's hand to push forward.
Joe Rosario and Revan Moon went by.
He's right at his morning line, so people are liking him a little bit.
George Weaver barn sending out Good Lord Laurie.
Yeah, the other one in here for Jose Ortiz, another one that's been working well.
Here's Saez on Fast Stride.
Yeah, he's been training down South Florida and dead on the board right now at 25 to 1.
Moving, aren't they? Smokey at 18 to 1.
Yeah, they're not kidding around here. Smokey, Michael Maker and Ruben Silvera.
Here's the filly against the boys. Start number 2 for this Wesley Ward trainee.
Yeah, and he ran first time out, was impressive. Second to Crimson Advocate.
And King Julian, who we touched on, Le Peru rides for Brian Lynch.
Yeah, and being bet right now, bet down the 5-1 from the 10-1 morning price.
So let's go back to Ocean Mermaid. Wesley Ward, it's almost news when he doesn't win first time out, but this filly got beat first time out by a George Weaver runner who not only won that race, would go over to Royal Ascot, win the Group 2 Queen Mary, beating a 26-horse field in the process.
Yeah, I thought this horse, I thought she'd be bet down lower than the 9-5 because of that Crimson Advocate, what she did. She got beat by a runner. I'm sure Wesley was disappointed first time out. She was 80 cents on the dollar for Stone Street Stable by Kingman. Great European sire. It's going to be tough in here, she is.
Yeah, in the race she lost, too, it wasn't like a 4 or 5 horse field. It was an 11 horse field, and they separated themselves 6 lengths clear of the 3rd place finisher. So, you know, and people will wonder, okay, who's Walter Rodriguez? Now, John Velasquez at Colonial Downs for the Arlington Million today, so there's a couple jockeys that are away, and Walter does ride a lot for Wesley Ward. He's not a complete send rider. I think he's a very talented rider, but he'll send one out of there, but he likes one to relax. But this one will probably explode out of the gate. I don't know, might clear this field, we'll see. I do think the 9 has a little bit of lick on the outside, and I think the 2's gonna have some lick.
Oh, I definitely think so. And just talk about the rider Rodriguez on the horse for Wesley. He is a 5-pound apprentice, so she's in with 111 pounds. Wesley not afraid to use an apprentice rider. He teaches, he's brought a lot of young kids up that have gone on to great things.
And a turf course listed as good. Little bit of give in it. Doesn't hurt to get a little weight break as we take a look at Revelatory for Todd Pletcher, who will have the inside post as we welcome Arad Ortiz Jr. back to action.
Yeah, and it's horse by Munnings for St. Elias Stables, who they bred here. And there you see first-time starters for Todd Pletcher. He's 9% so far this meet with his first-time starters. He's had a lot of second-place finishes. He's had a couple horses been kind of like nosed out at the wire. But I think this colt's got a big shot, been working well in the morning. And the fact that Todd didn't even work this horse over the turf course when you can here, I just love the way she's appearing. And I love the draw of getting the inside. I know it can be, if the horse doesn't break good, it's awfully an awful post, but it can be advantageous if you do break well, because then you get in a really prime position.
Yeah, but racing on the turf, if he does break a little bit slow, this is the difference between turf and dirt. He's not going to get that kickback in his face. I tended to ride, even in sprint races, first-time starters coming out of there. Didn't want to rush them a whole lot. I just wanted to get a decent break, and wherever they were, and teach them something. But all of Todd's horses are well-schooled. In this colt, I love the way that it's warming up right now.
Not camera shy at all. Really showing himself off here for Todd Pletcher with some more firsters in this second race. Let's go back to Maggie.
Yeah, Greg, this feels like a race where any of these horses can run and could be effective. A lot of these first-time starting colts have presented themselves incredibly well. And number 4, Good Lord Glory, is just another one, and arguably taking the most money of any of them, too, for George Weaver, who's just gotten off to such an auspicious start with his 2-year-olds, but mostly they've been very good on the turf. Now, this one kind of has a swing pedigree, if you will. Hardspun, I think, is very versatile. He's not the most commercial stallion, so a lot of times you won't see his progeny go for a lot, but they're as tough as boots, much like he was. They just kind of run on anything. They tend to have a bit of longevity to their careers as well. And this guy's been very aggressive in the warm-up with Jose Ortiz aboard. And I would say in the mornings, too, looking at his work tab and watching his last breeze from the gate going 47-4. He quickly found his stride. He was inside of an unraced mate, and he was just well in hand throughout. So hinting to me that he's a horse that probably could handle either surface, as his pedigree would suggest, as there's actually more dirt on the bottom if you do some digging. But really, really fit. He's arguably the most fit of the ones that have not run, but the filly in here who has Ocean Mermaid, she's very fit. And she matches up A-okay with her male counterparts today. She was a little bit hot, a little washy back in the paddock. I find that Wesley's horses do tend to be somewhat of high-strung in the paddock, and then they kind of settle into themselves out on the racetrack, and that's exactly what she did. I respect her here, but guys, I think I'm just on a mission to pick all of Omaha Beach's progeny, and I just couldn't get over how good Reverend Moon looked. So taking a little bit of a flyer with a 9-1 shot.
Maggie, thanks. That's the 3 in here. Christophe Clement, Joel Rosario with the son of Omaha Beach, 8-1 on the board, but the 7-5 favorite, this Wesley Award filly against the boys. There she is, center screen in those gold and burgundy silks of Stone Street Stables. Clicks down to 6-5 in here, and she was tactically quick and forward in that debut as well.
Yeah, well, all of Wesley's, that's just this type of horse that he loves to train, a certain build with him, and she was extremely quick first time out.
Yeah, he's relentless. I got to watch him one time at Old Calder Racecourse, and he was literally having a conversation with me while he was taking a horse through the gate like 25 times. It was unbelievable, and a lot of his horses, they are really good gate horses, and a lot of his horses win the races at the gate.
It's the filly, the favorite against the boys here in her second start, the 7 Ocean Mermaid for Wesley Ward. Let's go upstairs to Frank Miramati.
One more left to load. That's King Julian. Backs away. The others have gone in smoothly. King Julian for Brian Lynch. Right up to the gate. They open the front for him. They're in the gate. And they're off. Reverend Moon is very quick away from the gate, and so is Ocean Mermaid. These two dueling early on. Smoky is up close in third. They're followed by Better Luck fourth, and about 4 lengths off the speed. Good Lord Lori is racing in mid-pack. It's another 2 back to King Julian, racing on the outside of All About Tonight. A gap of 3 to the 2 trailers, Fast Stride and Revelatory is the distant trailer. The filly Ocean Mermaid rounds the far turn, leading it by 2. Smoky is in second. Down on the inside, it's Reverend Moon, ground saving, trying to get after the top pair. Good Lord Lori is awaiting some racing room. Better Luck on the outside with the white cap. They're at the top of the stretch, and it's Ocean Mermaid still in front by 2 lengths. Good Lord Lori is kicking in smartly on the outside, and Good Lord Lori lengthening stride, trying to get to Ocean Mermaid, just trying to lug in a bit. Is Good Lord Lori straightens up and goes on by. Good Lord Lori and Jose Ortiz winning it by 1.5 lengths. Smoky second. Ocean Mermaid tired to third. Reverend Moon was fourth.
Good Lord Lori. Ocean Mermaid was beat by a George Weaver horse in that debut. George Weaver does it to this one again.
Yeah, and a huge finish by the winner there, Good Lord Lori. Just sitting back there. Jose's biding his time. When he moves out, sees the daylight. It was kind of race over from here. He's wanting to lean in pretty hard right now. Jose does a good job of keeping him straight. He's actually switched over to his right lead and still leaning in, looking up in the grandstand a little bit, but this horse was not all the way up there. So an objection, I think I'm hearing Frank say something's going on.
I tell you what, you know, Smoky the 6th ran a giant race. He was up on the pace with Ruben Silvera. He was pressing Ocean Mermaid. And you're right, Gary, this horse just got to the outside. At one point, Reverend Moon, who Maggie liked, was traveling so good and then kind of emptied out a little bit and just didn't really have kick. And all of a sudden, Good Lord Lori Green a little bit just came down the crown of the racetrack and was rolling.
I mean, Jose, he had to grab him hard on that right rein to keep him from lugging in. He was looking up in the grandstand, shying away from it, the noise and the people. So, and even when he went to the lead, he never let himself completely down where we're going to see his best.
That was George Weaver you saw there, and welcome back Jose Ortiz, who was out the last 3 days, as we had mentioned, serving a suspension. Impressive first time out here at 4-1 with Good Lord Lori. Wins the debut, and that's the 21st winner of the meet for Jose Ortiz in a 4-1 upset.
So Jose Ortiz got hurt. He came back his first day. He won, what, 3 races? He goes on suspension, he comes back, and boom, he pops ready again today. So days off are actually probably good for him, I think.
Ride's good fresh.
Yeah, right.
Were you itching to get back at it when you were out for a few days?
Always. I hated it. And, you know, when you're sitting on the sidelines, you don't make any money. Whether you're hurt or if you're suspended, either way, it's not a lot of fun.
Now right back into the winner's circle with his second mount of the afternoon here. Jose Ortiz for George Weaver, Herald Ventures. And, you know, this filly, she broke sharp, the favorite for Wesley Ward with his apprentice rider. And just not enough in the stretch.
No, she had no excuse. She was out there by herself, wasn't hooked. She seemed to be going well within herself. Turning into the lane, she had every opportunity and just was outrun today.
Good Lord Lori. A big price, Smoky at 26-1, completing the exacta. And then the favorite Ocean Mermaid, 1, 2, 3. Here in the second one of the prices when we come back.
Spun to Run. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more. And he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Now, this multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, and Breeders' Cup champion is passing his remarkable talent along to his progeny.
95, 5, 200, 200 down to back. Patrick, 200,000. Thank you.
Spun to Run, standing at Gainesway.
Adelphi Racing Club offers the unparalleled excitement of owning thoroughbred racehorses at a fraction of the cost. We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Our New York-based high-performing equine athletes, trainers, and jockeys compete and win at the highest level circuits. Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference and come hang with us this Saratoga meet.
Thanks for tuning in to the program. You are watching Saratoga Live here on Fox Sports, and it was an exciting two-year-old race going in, and it proved just that when things unfolded as Good Lord Laurie wins his debut, son of Hardspun, and pleased to be joined here with trainer George Weaver. As George, I mean, the beat goes on. I know you're wearing Vacoma's hat. I know that was a good year winning that grade 1, but winning at Royal Ascot and the 2-year-olds that you've unveiled this year have been so promising and so effective early on.
Yeah, we've had a great year. It's kind of an outlier. A bunch of them have run early. We won a bunch of 2-year-old maiden races already. And we just haven't, we got sent nice horses. People have supported us and sent us nice horses, and, that's what I need. That's what I need to do a good job, nice horses.
It almost feels like a bargain, the $90,000 that the owners paid for Good Lord Laurie. I find that Hardspuns, they never go for quite as much as maybe you would think, but a really lovely pedigree, and a pedigree that could go either way. This guy's worked well on the dirt, too.
He did. I thought he was a tad better on the turf when I worked him, but he could do either way. But I wanted to get him started. His gate work the other day was sharp, and hats off to Steve Young. He picked out a nice horse and didn't have to pay too much for him.
Well, George, any other babies you're unveiling you're excited about?
I'm gonna try to unveil a bunch of them.
Love it.
Yep. So we'll see what happens.
Wishing you the best of luck and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Maggie.
All right, Good Lord Laurie. I love that name. It's fun to say because he was really good in this debut, guys.
Our Spencer Farm 2-year-old race of the day, Good Lord Laurie, $10.60 for the victory. George Weaver having a tremendous meet. He's been going good for a while.
Yeah, phenomenal, and doing it with a lot of first-time starters, 2-year-olds, and 2-year-olds are your future.
And we should mention that the first-time starter that beat the Wesley Ward filly too. That was historic for him to go over to Royal Ascot and win a race there. As prestigious as that meet is.
Yeah, and everything he's been to, it's been well chronicled what happened to his wife, and he's handled it so graciously. And what I love about it the most is the Weavers really haven't played the poor me card. They really haven't. They've just been trucking along, and you got to give him the utmost respect. The whole team, because she's such a big part of the team as well, and the horses are running phenomenal. And you guys make a good point. It's hard to stay relevant in Belmont to Saratoga. It really is. A lot of people don't realize that. him and Linda Rice are the two ones that have stayed relevant in both meets to me.
Yeah, against the two big power barns on this circuit. Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher doing a tremendous job. Another win for George Weaver. We're going to get into race 3 when we come back. It's still to come. 2-year-olds in the Saratoga Special. Norm Cassie, he's known success at this meet with 2-year-olds. Had a nice filly named Pretty Birdie that won the Schuylerville a couple of years ago. He's got a talented 2-year-old. Rhyme Schemes coming in off a big effort at Ellis.
I just happened to be up on the 3rd floor of the grandstand at Saratoga, so I saw a horse load up in the gate and just decided to clock it. Went like 11 and 22 and 33 and 44 and change. It was one of the fastest gate works I've ever seen.
Nashville, first time out, much the best.
Spice Down was a super fast horse, certainly no surprise when he has an offspring like Nashville.
Never asked for a thing, track record.
Nashville for the best sprint time of the Fairgrounds meet.
Like my old boss Wayne Lucas always said, you can't coach speed.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. Start earning your $200 sign-up bonus when you sign up with offer code GET200.
To win the Grade 1 Spinaway. Spinaway in Saratoga, and she wins the percent here in Belmont.
Echo Zulu takes command. They come to the 16th pole. It's a sizzling performance for Echo Zulu. What an effort. Echo Zulu enters in by 8 widening lengths.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Comes off the turn, handwritten there by Gary Stevens. Now just a nudge or two, and Henny Hughes is on his way to a 5-length lead at the 8th pole, leaving Master of Disaster behind in 2nd, and Union Course on the outside 3rd, and they're coming down to the finish, and Henny Hughes, and he looks like something special.
Certainly did. That was back in 2005 with G. Stevens aboard. What do you remember about Henny Hughes?
He was probably the most intelligent 2-year-old that I rode in my career. He did everything in the mornings and in the afternoon like he'd done it all before, like he'd been reincarnated from some other horse that had done this in a past life or something. And the best part about Henny Hughes is he's the daddy of Beholder. So not only gave me that Saratoga Special, but he gave me Beholder as well.
That's crazy.
Loved it here at Saratoga. He'd come back his 3-year-old campaign. He'd win the Grade 1 King's Bishop, now the Alan Jerkins. Pretty talented horse. At that time, it was Patrick Biancone. Later with Kieran McLaughlin. We look forward to the Saratoga Special coming up later today. We talked going to break about Norm Cassie and Rhyme Schemes. He is the 4-5 morning line favorite in that race. And just a huge performance. Start number 2 at Ellis Park. When he made an equipment change, he put blinkers on and just blitzed this field.
Yeah, I don't think this was all blinkers for this performance. It helped, made him more focused, but what he does when he swaps into his right lead here at the head of the stretch was phenomenal.
No, it is. Sometimes you just got to take things visually. Now, I know the number's giant, but this horse is running fast. When you visually can see a horse quicken, especially on dirt, a lot of times we see a horse's visually quicken on turf. This horse is striding out and was going through the wire faster, it seemed like, towards the end of the race. Very, very scary. But again, like I said, second time out where a lot of these horses have had, well, 3 other horses only had 1 start, so they might improve, but they're going to have to improve big time to beat this horse.
Look, there's other speed in there today and here. He's taken a step up in class, and some of the numbers on a couple of the other horses, Edified and Hall, I think they're both going to take huge steps forward off of both their wins, their first out of their life.
And those are two barns that we expect to see show up in these big 2-year-old races. Edified for Steve Asmussen, Hall for Todd Pletcher, but it's Norm Cassidy. You expect to see 4 to 5 with those two barns, not Norm Cassidy in this race.
Yeah, I get it. Just everybody's looking at that 94 buyer, and that's a giant buyer for a 2-year-old. But Gary makes a very good point. Edified is a tappet that won first time out at 6 furlongs. So 6.5 is not going to be an issue at all. And Hall was very, very professional first time out.
Yeah, Hall sent off the favorite for Pletcher. That was at Belmont, going 5.5 furlongs, would win. But it's just everyone seemingly needing to step up to where Rhyme Schemes apparently is already at.
Well, and listen, Norm started 6 horses here at the meet. He came here for action. He's won 3 out of those 6 races at 50% right now. So he came here with a purpose.
It's crazy how you kind of go in cycles, right? He got off to, when I was at Oakland, he got off to a monster year, right? Then you know what? He started telling me a couple of his horses got injured. Pretty Birdie got injured. The 1s and 2s, which he likes a lot, who just came back. So, you know, you have sometimes barns have injuries, and then he went into a little bit of a slump. But he won with a Mary Lou Whitney Stables first-time starter, and he's been live at this whole meet, Greg. So I would think Rhymes and Schemes is probably going to run a really, really good race. And here's the thing. Does he need to, if he regresses just a tiny, does he still win the race?
He might be that good. Yeah. We're going to find out later today in the 8th. We talked about 2 of the big-name barns going to try and tackle him in this one. We welcome in Acacia Clement to talk about one of them.
That's right, Greg, and I'm very intrigued of what we're going to get from Edified for trainer Steve Asmussen. This one broke his maiden on debut with a 69 buyer speed. Figures not as quick as your favorite Rhyme Schemes, but what I do like about him is that he had to overcome some adversity that day. It wasn't just a win going wire to wire, as you'll often see with 2-year-olds coming into it. He didn't break that quickly. He had to kind of hustle up, tip out, take over, run behind horses, and then he kicked away to be much the best. Maybe some of the foes that he's running against today, likely Rhyme Schemes, are just better. But I think with a horse that got a real learning experience in his first race for the Hall of Famer Steve Asmussen, you can expect a step forward second time out. And he has the pedigree to be a good one. Of course, he cost a lot going as a yearling for $650,000 by Tappet, and have to Grade 1 winner Constellation. There's plenty of good pedigree in here for Cortland Farm, and I'm very intrigued to see what kind of step forward we'll see from Edified after that learning experience of a debut race.
Like we all are, Acacia, thank you. These 2-year-olds, they can improve by leaps and bounds from that first to that second start. Take a look at the 2-year-old dirt stakes at Saratoga. Your winners to this point. Of course, the big ones still to come with the Grade 1 spin-away for 2-year-old fillies and the hopeful for the boys on the closing weekend of the meet. Today going to be exciting. Maybe we'll get a couple of starters. Could be a fairly quick turnaround, but if you're impressive enough, maybe we'll see them at 7 furlongs. That's coming up later today. 3rd race next out of this Wilson chute at this 1-mile distance. And right now, the favorite Sa Fourstardave, beat by, I thought, one of the more fun runners we've seen at this meet, Into Happiness, who has just come from another zip code to win back-to-back races.
Listen, this is as good a race betting-wise as there is on the card. The longest price on the board right now is at 6 to 1.
Greg and I were talking about this race. I go, what do you think of race 3? He goes, I have no clue. I'm like, well, the 2 Dutchos in there, the 2 and 6, are going to take money by default.
Very difficult race. 5 to 2, 5 to 1 separates all of them. We'll be back.
Grade 1 winner and track record setter Lee. Like their sire, his runners have excelled on both dirt and turf, including these standout performers.
Poppy Flowers putting in a late burst here. They come for the finish. Here is Nagarok, who takes off. Nagarok will roll. Nagarok.
Out of a Galileo mare, this dual surface star has sired juvenile stakes winners on both dirt and turf. Lee, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets. Back on Saratoga Live on our FS1 coverage. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Race 3, 1 mile out of the Wilson Chute coming up on the main track. 50,000 starter allowance race. And as we talked about going to break, very wide open group. You can make a case for all of them. Let's go to Acacia for more.
And Greg, we'll take a look at the two horses for Rick Detrow, starting off with Fourstardave, as Gary mentioned, was run down last time by Into Happiness, who tends to lose contact with the field, but is a big late closing runner with a lot of talent. The problem with Fourstardave, though, is that her last 5 races have been second place finishes, and I'm starting to wonder if that's just kind of how she is. So we'll see if today could be the day that she turns the table. She looks tremendous once again. I like the mile. I like them sticking kind of at this middle distance for her. She healthy, great weight, everything you want to see off of a good effort last time out, and I definitely liked her cutting back from the mile in the 16th. But we'll see if maybe her stablemate, who I thought was a little bit unlucky and actually ran well at a big price last time in that same race, Morsal, I like stretching out to the mile even better. This one was kind of mid-pack, 3 wide, kind of swapping leads in the stretch, and just lost second behind her stablemate. I think this is the one who could step forward in here. Just has a little bit more upside after back-to-back wins, and last time was her first start for the barn. The 4 Icy Reply is a bit of a new face as she is stretching out in distance to the mile today. She's a filly typical of a Keen Ice that just carries a lot of weight and substance. So I really don't think that she appreciated those wet tracks back at Belmont. She gets a fast track again today, and I think a little bit more distance will suit her. She was really revved up last time, and while she's sharp and I'll watch her on track, she's a little bit more settled, which I appreciate as she'll try to navigate a little bit more distance, Greg.
Acacia, thank you. Favoritism being swapped in here. It's now the 6. Mersal, 1 of 2 in here for the Detrow barn. Both of them have been favored, the 2 and the 6. As we get a look at Luis Saez trying to chip away at that lead of meet leading jockey Rat Ortiz Jr. Saez 7 behind early on entering this card today.
Can we get a picture of the handler of the 2 that's walking the horse out to the racetrack? I'd really love to see that again.
Yeah, got a Pikachu hat. If he says Pikachu to your face, you become a clone, Paulie.
That
Careful.
is true. And let me be honest with you. Don't mess with the surfing Pikachu because I think it's got like 280 hit power, okay?
I don't even know what a Pikachu is.
There it is. There it is. That is absolutely glorious.
Anything to give you a little extra luck at the track.
For you Pokemon fans, by the way.
Jolly Miss Jill went gate to wire out of the Wilson Chute last start.
Yeah, and getting some play here. Was claimed last time out for $25,000, but does have the experience. going this one-turn mile.
One of two for the Whitney-winning Rick Dutrow barn. South Foradada.
Yeah, put blinkers on last time. Didn't make much of a difference, but did beat Mersal last time, who's in this race.
Here's Freudian, ran a decent effort against a Pletcher horse Inventing. It was 4-5.
Yeah, got beat 4 1/4 lengths last time out. 5-2 on the morning line. Not getting a lot of action right now.
Maybe the speed. Icy reply.
Yeah, maybe the speed. A lot of second-place finishes in this Phillies resume, but Irad Ortiz Jr. does get aboard.
The other Dutrow, the 6, Mersal.
You know, Mersal, to me, I think might turn the tables on her stablemate just because I think she wants to be behind horses, not in front, and I think there's speed to chase in here.
And here's Yogi with Dylan Davis.
Yeah, coming out of the same race as Jolly Miss Jill, which Yogi was second last time out. Before that was second to Mersal, getting bet at 5-1 right now.
Throwing that head around with the 7.
Not a problem.
Not anything.
Nervous habit.
Here's the 2. So Luis Saez again aboard for Dutrow on South Foradada. And had to face Into Happiness, a horse who comes from another area code to win, and has done that the last couple of times.
Yeah, she's already came back and won, so why not maybe So Foradada can get the job done today. But watch out in the middle of the racetrack. This run that Into Happiness does, they didn't even realize that this one was coming from the clouds and run the race of its life. But So Foradada ran big as well.
You know, I've watched this race multiple times, and you can see that the 2 and the 6 that are in this race, the 2 barely beat the 6. And I look at the 6 Mersal, and I wonder, you know, the best races for her have been off the pace that she needs a target. I'm wondering if she hit the lead a tiny bit too early last time, and it was nothing to do with Manny. I think the horse is druggered there. But today, with the 1 in the race and the 4 in the race, I don't think the 6, I think Manny can sit a little bit longer today.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, I'm looking at is with Mersal is 3rd race off the claim for Dutrow, and he gets to know his horses. So I'd look for this one to run even better today than last time. And so South Foradada, same thing. 3rd off the layoff, or off the claim.
And South Foradada, the 2-1 favorite right now. There's another look. Nice appearance warming up here.
Yeah, they're going to go back and forth on this wagering right now. And listen, when Paulie said that because of people are just going to go with the 2 and 6 because they can't figure out who's going to win this race, and I'm not very confident. I went with South Foradada in here today, but this is such a closely matched race. Anything could happen.
How much, Gary, could you feel in your day when you were riding on a horse that you knew they were going to bring their top effort?
Well, if you've ridden them several times, you knew when they were warming up a certain way, and they'd performed well doing that before. I'll give you an example. Silver Charm, he was always the type of horse was real laid back in the post parade and just kind of nonchalant, didn't really give you any signals. And his 4-year-old year, before the Awesome Again Stakes at Santa Anita, he'd been coming off of a layoff, and he really wasn't showing what he had shown earlier in his career in the afternoons racing. And he was coming off this layoff, and he was really, really stirred up in a good way. But I didn't know at the time. I remember telling the pony girl, he got sweaty, and he was being aggressive with the pony, and he'd never done that before. And I told her, I said, he's going to run either really huge today or he's going to run horrible. And he wound up winning really easy. I think that was the day, it was his biggest win margin in any of the races that he won. Went on from that race and was second to Awesome Again in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So it was one of those deals. He had gotten good at the right time, and you could sense that, you know. And sometimes you're on a nervous side of sort of horse, especially filly, and they start with age getting quieter and quieter. And that was the case with Beholder. Her 5- and 6-year-old year, she had really mellowed out and took care of herself in the post parade, and that was a good sign. So it just depends on the individual.
It's crazy, right? There really are professional athletes to the point where they know how to prepare themselves. And when you get into a nice routine and you have the same routine as a professional athlete and you're prepared, that's all you could ask for. Then everything else takes care of itself. As long as I went out there with my head saying I'm prepared, you got to let everything else take care of itself.
Casa Creed, that's exactly with him. He knows his routine. He knows a week out from a race. I'll guarantee you when he's going to go out and perform, because Christophe Clement, he's got the same pattern, and a majority of these, well, all these top trainers, they have certain ways that they bring a horse up. They work back from the calendar of when their next race is going to be and set that pattern and start cranking them up, schooling in the paddock and doing different things that horse knows that they're going to run.
Let's go to Acacia.
I completely agree with what Gary and Paul were saying, and that's why we take all the notes, trying to compare what's typical for a horse, and you can often tell if they are doing well or maybe not so well, if it's something that's in or out of character for them. I think that's usually the most important comparison. Now taking a look at the number 3, Freudian, who actually has the best last out by her speed figure, albeit at Monmouth, and coming in here after a pretty wide trip, being second best behind the 4-5 favorite that day. But with 3 wide early, wide on the first turn and on the backstretch, chasing the favorite, I thought that she actually ran okay, all things considered. She strikes me as the type of filly that has a pretty soft mouth, and she doesn't have a lot of equipment at all on her face, no noseband at all. And you could see Ricardo Santana in the warm-up. She kind of started throwing her head a little bit, and he just kind of put his hands down and got her to relax nicely into stride. And I like her cutting back a little bit to the 1 mile here out of the Wilson chute. A little bit of a new face, returning to New York. In fact, her best races came in a mile over at Aqueduct, and she is a big price versus her 5-2 morning line. See if she can get around the Dutrow duo, Greg.
Acacia, thank you. Birthday present for Rick Dutrow, winning the Whitney. How about that with White Barrio? Welcome back for a man who had been away from the sport for a decade. Now he's got the top 2 choices in this race. The 2, Fourstardave, the 6, Mersal. And they met last time. Just a neck separated the 2 of them. And here they go at each other again.
Babe, I can't tell you who's going to win between the 2.
Yeah, it's an interesting race. There's a couple of horses in here. If you look at the race, every horse ran a good race last time. Everybody's in decent form, so nobody's coming in here with a clunker. That's what makes this race so difficult.
Everyone's babe to Rick Dutrow, for those that didn't catch that.
Thank
doing
you
that
for
a long, long time. Let's send it upstairs. Frank Miramati, race 3 from Saratoga.
He is the last one to load. Yogi goes in. They're in the gate. And they're off. Jolly Miss Jill is out very quickly. So is Icy Reply. And those 2 battling it out in the opening furlong. Mersal is a 3-deep third, and down at the rails, Fourstardave 4th, and about 2.5 lengths off the speed. Yogi is next, and Freudian trails. They swing on to the backstretch. It's Jolly Miss Jill on the inside, duking it out with Icy Reply. Those 2 on even terms. 2.5 more, Mersal third. The opening quarter went in 25 seconds flat. Down at the rails, Fourstardave in striking range, willingly takes the 3rd spot as they head toward the half-mile pole. Then it's Freudian and Yogi. The leader is Jolly Miss Jill. She's been prominent throughout and now opens up a little more than a length. Icy Reply trying to keep pace second. The half went in 48 and 4/5 seconds. On the outside, Fourstardave and Mersal. Those 2 right together. Freudian lurking behind them in 5th. Only 3 lengths off the lead now, angling to the outside as Mersal is the first to make a move on the embattled leaders coming to the quarter pole. Jolly Miss Jill hanging tough. Mersal, Freudian will be 4 deep. Icy Reply, then Fourstardave down at the rail. They're at the top of the stretch. And it's Jolly Miss Jill with a 2-prong attack after her. Mersal on the outside, Fourstardave, and Freudian continues to make headway. 4 of them line up with a furlong to go. Fourstardave on the inside, Freudian on the outside, Jolly Miss Jill in between them. Fourstardave is just in front. Here's the line. Fourstardave under a beautiful ride from Luis Saez. Saved every inch of ground to make a difference. Freudian was second, Jolly Miss Jill and Mersal.
Fourstardave the win. Luis Saez up the fence And this mare had some trouble out of the gate as well.
Yeah, but Luis Saez, he took advantage of the trouble he had. He gets hit hard by the one horse when they come out of here, kind of sends her sideways, and he snatched up when it happened. They kind of did it to each other, but he takes a hold here, and what's this move that he makes going into this dog leg? He gets right to the fence right here, and from there, he just sits on the fence and waits and waits and waits. He got her balance collected, and through the stretch, what a race this was. Like Frank Miramati said, what a ride by Luis Saez. Made all the right decisions. It opened up on the fence for him, and he was ready to pounce. He was either going to split horses or come through on the fence. He was able to get through on the fence, and that was the difference maker.
Yeah, and I think also, too, some of the times when a horse comes up the fence, Gary, you have to stop, right? Just a tiny bit. Louis started riding and riding and riding, and that hole opened up, and it was the difference because the 3 Freudian overlapped Marsala, was coming with a nice run. Ricardo Santana about 4 or 5 wide, and this horse really stuck his neck out. Greg, I give you credit. You looked at me right before the race. You said, this 2 looks tremendous on the racetrack, and she did. She ran great, but Louis made a huge difference there, and Freudian ran giant because, you know, she was starting to really roll on the deep outside there.
2-1, Sav Fourstardave, Luis Saez, 25th winner of the meet, now 6 behind Rat Ortiz Jr. Freudian, yeah, big run from off the pace to get second. 2-3-1-6 finish, and we do have an inquiry sign that was just posted.
I wonder what this could be about.
Can we see a head-on?
I didn't see much in the stretch. You see anything, Gary?
No, I did notice one thing. The winner, Sav Fourstardave, when they hit the finish line, she was bearing out hard. So I'm wondering if she was trying to drift out through the stretch. We got the head-on coming up right now, so we're going to know in a second.
Dark blue silks on the rail. Let's keep our eyes there.
Okay, she's on the rail. You got the 6 in the middle. You got the 3 on the complete outside. The 6 is with the white face.
Yeah, she's wanting to drift out right here.
Wow.
I think it happened right on the wire.
It happened right on the wire. Now, here's the thing. Can we go back to that? The 1 actually was in front of the 6. Because here's the thing. The stewards have to decide whether it cost the 1 a position. And luckily, probably for Louis, let's look at the pan. Now, okay, he impedes with the 1, right, Gary?
Not here. Not here. Not until at the wire.
Late at the wire.
She's
now,
bearing out right
if the 6 would have went by the 1 late, would there be a bigger? It's too late in the race.
It didn't change anything.
Too late in the race.
Signs down, they said.
Too late in the race.
And enough separation there looking at the pan?
They've already taken the
inquiry signs down, yeah. But looking at it, is the reason they make that decision was the horse was clear and had that space?
She was lugging out. No, she was in tight quarters down on the fence, so she was staying in. And as soon as he got clear, she maybe was tiring a little bit. But you saw the full cup blinkers that she had on, and she, for whatever reason, she was bearing out hard. And, you know, he finally, at the wire, he let her drift out, and no harm, no foul. But I understand the position he was in. And listen, I'm glad the stewards hung that up to let the other jocks know, hey, we are watching. At least I'd rather them hang it up than not hang it up and act like they didn't see anything. Put it up there, you can take it right down like they just did. Thank you for doing that, stewards.
And Surfing Pikachu is in the winner's circle.
It's got to be the hat.
It's got to be the hat.
Dutch O'Barn wins again. 5-year-old mare with a victory here. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, the story of what this day is all about. The Sultan of Saratoga, Fourstardave, his story next.
This is the horse.
Is just too good.
This is the horse who became only the 2nd champion 2-year-old to win the Travers in 3 decades. This is the horse who is the only Breeders' Cup juvenile hero ever to lift the Belmont Stakes. History-making brilliance. That's his essential quality. Essential quality. This is the horse.
Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby.
Champion 3-year-old.
Maximum Security has won the TVG.com Haskell Invitational.
11 triple-digit buyers.
Maximum Security, he smoked them in the Cigar Mile.
Grade 1 winning 4-year-old.
Maximum Security takes them all the way in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Maximum Security.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
Welcome back to Saratoga Live, brought to you by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. In the third, it was Fourstardave with Luis Saez, who could have a big day ahead. And Louis, we did see that inquiry sign posted, came down pretty quickly. What did you feel right towards the wire with your horse?
Yeah, well, we know she drifted a little bit when she got through. I don't know, I feel like she kind of get a little hang way for company, and she kind of drift a little out, but my team was trying to keep her straight, and thank God nothing happened.
You were clear at that point, and not the best beginning either. She kind of got bumped a bit, but you were able to turn that into a very good trip for her.
Yeah, definitely. It was a little rough trip. We was right there behind, and we tried to hustle to get through there, and finally we get them. Well, she do all the rest.
Coming up later today in the Fourstardave, we're going to see Casa Creed try to defend his title. What does that horse mean to you, as you and he have been partners all over the world?
Yeah, we've been following the horse everywhere he go, and it's a pretty nice horse to ride, and pretty good people to ride for. The owner Lee, Mr. Billy Mott, and it's a great people, everybody. So we're so grateful to be a part.
And how about the reaction to the fans? They seem to love him as a mini Fourstardave winning here in Saratoga.
Yes, definitely. They you know, he like here, and we're pretty happy everybody came today. A lot of people, and thanks everybody to come over here and support the racing.
Enjoy it. Best of luck later.
Thank you so much.
Luis Saez, a big date coming up this afternoon, Greg.
Won this meet, thank you, Acacia, a couple summers ago, 64 victories. Gave Ramon Dominguez single-season record a run for the money in the process. And yeah, the big one to come for him later today, regular pilot of Casa Creed. He'll be on board looking to go back-to-back in that Grade 1 Fourstardave.
You got to give Luis Saez credit. He's, like you said, you have all the Ortiz brothers, and then there's Luis Saez inserted. He won the title, like you said, but he decided to go to Kentucky. And he rode to Kentucky, come back up here, and he's riding well again.
Fourth race, 6.5 furlongs, $32,000 claiming race, which we'll get into a little deeper here momentarily. 7-horse field will line up. Well, simply showing up at Saratoga for as many consecutive years as he did would be impressive enough. But not only did he show up, Fourstardave for 8 straight summers would win a race at this historic race course, becoming one of the most popular horses to ever run here in the process.
I think Fourstardave really started to become a fan favorite in Saratoga the 3rd year he won up here as a 4-year-old. He started getting that moniker like horse for a course, Saratoga horse. And then by the 4th year, Fourstardave mania was starting to take place. I mean, people who were starting with t-shirts and hats, and it just kept going. I mean, 5th year, and people were going, well, how many horses run 5 years in a row in Saratoga, let alone win? And hard to imagine that he would ultimately win 8 years in a row up here. The thing about him, too, besides the fact that he would win every year in Saratoga, was he was very charismatic, and people would go to take pictures of him. He'd actually stop and pose, and he kind of really thrived on the attention. The '93 Saratoga meet was bittersweet. He got his win in Saratoga, keep the streak alive. And then he got taken down, and to me was one of the top 5 worst DQs I've ever seen, let alone been a part of.
Fourstardave was disqualified from first.
He shifted out a half a path when I went to go to my left-handed whip, and we barely brushed through the horse that wound up, I think, 5th. In one stride, it was back in my right hand, and I had him corrected. And then on top of that, the horse fell down at the break of the race. I mean, I was off of him. I don't know how. Somehow, with his head, he kind of put me back in the saddle. His last win in Saratoga in '94 was the most pressure I ever felt riding him. Maybe the only time I ever felt pressure riding him. The only way I thought he could lose is if I made a mistake.
Migliore makes his move with the old boy. There goes Fourstardave, and he sweeps to a short lead.
But I felt the weight of Saratoga anyway on my shoulders that day.
Fourstardave is one furlong away from 8 years worth of Saratoga victories. Here's the old boy coming down to the line. He's making a runaway of it. The legend lives on. Fourstardave wins again at the Spa.
He delivered, you know, just a tremendous performance. And I remember I started, you know, patting on him and telling him what a good guy he was, what a good boy. And the crowd was amazing that day. They just went bonkers when we turned for home. Normally as a jockey, you don't hear the crowd. And that day I heard Saratoga react to Fourstardave. The day Dave got injured up here, he was chasing Lure and Paradise Creek, two, you know, world-class turf horses. And he was beaten about 7 lengths that day, and the outpouring of affection from the crowd, from the people of Saratoga, was pretty eye-opening. And I think, to me, that showed more than ever just how much he had gotten into people's hearts. They had a great retirement ceremony for Dave. They named the street by Ciro's after him, Fourstardave Way. The mayor of the city gave him the key to the city, albeit it was a big oatmeal cookie key. And I got on him over there at Ciro's, and it was a really fun celebration, and another way for people to basically say thank you to Dave for all he had given them over the years. You can come to Saratoga in the off-season. It could be October, November. Go to his gravesite at Clare Court, and people leave tributes to him, flowers or a bobblehead. There's always some memento of his success up here, and I just think it's great that it lives on how many years later.
It'll be hard-pressed to ever see someone accomplish what he did, winning in 8 consecutive summers. Mig was aboard 3 of those years in that incredible streak for the Sultan of Saratoga. What a career he had. One of just 3 with multiple wins in a race that's now named in his honor. It was the Daryl's Joy back when he won it.
You know, there's certain horses that you feel a certain relationship with, and you can see the passion, the love that he had for Fourstardave. I'm not going to tell the story, but somebody needs to ask Mig while he's on air what happened with the stewards when he came back to the jocks room and made that phone call to them. He was not a happy camper when they took Fourstardave down that day.
I plead the 5th.
Sure, Mig spoke his mind. We know that much.
Yes.
There was some damage to a phone, I hear.
But to be honest with you, like, they don't start running until age 3. So, I mean, or 2 or 3. 8 years in a row to win up here. And he had only 22 wins, but that's not saying only 22. He's 55 out of 100 in the money. We're just never going to see that again. I mean, it's almost, it's an impossibility, isn't it? I mean, like.
Yeah, if the game's changed, you just don't see horses even come here that many summers in a row. But Casa Creed doing his best impersonation. He won here at 2. He won a grade 2 here at 3. And then he won last year. His only 2 defeats here were in the grade 1 Fourstardave, and he hit the board both times. 6th summer in a row that Casa Creed is coming here. So a bit of a throwback horse.
And he's looking for back-to-back Fourstardave wins today. So
yeah.
Seemingly getting better, too, as he gets older. That's why he's been such a fun story for Lee Einsadler and Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott. Luis Saez, of course, will ride him later today as we get set for the 4th race coming up. $32,000 claiming race once again here, 6.5 furlong sprint. And the current favorite, One Giant Leap for Wesley Ward. He was coming out of a race in which he won pretty easily, and the 2nd and 3rd finishers both came back to win out of there. Steve Asmussen. Could be a very big day for the Hall of Fame trainer, including Edified still to come in the Saratoga Special. We'll be back.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets. Tremendous crowd on hand for Fourstardave Saturday here at this historic racetrack. Welcome to Saratoga Live. Thanks for sticking around. If you've already been with us here on our FS1 coverage, Greg Wolf, Hall of Famer Gary Stevens, four-time Major League All-Star Paul LaDuca. We have Acacia Clement with us as well as we get set for this fourth race coming up, and it starts a mandatory payout. Pick 5 sequence in the 6.5 furlong sprint. Let's go to the paddock at Acacia.
And Greg, we'll take a look at a couple of the main contenders that are all coming in from out of town, and interesting to see if they can kind of bring their show on the road. Starting off with the Steve Asmussen trainee who won last time out at Horseshoe Indy. That's the 3 Commerce Comet. This horse got a big victory last time out. Kind of broke in at the start, was a little high-headed, but then was able to sit behind a horse, take over, and just pull away much best in the way that he runs. And you can see that in his demeanor here in the paddock. You have assistant trainer Scott Blasi on his head, and typically when they're kind of breathing fire a little bit more in the paddock, you'll see Scott take over the shank and take over that one, and he's gotten him to settle pretty nicely. He was very sharp once they put the tack on it, but he's incredibly strong, really well muscled behind the saddle, and ran a fast race last time out. Even faced his more talented stablemate a few races back in Rivet. This should just be the right spot for him coming into Saratoga, and I like what I see from him in the paddock. The 6 One Giant Leap also ran a fast race last time, but he does come in after back-to-back voided claims. Now, it could be a physical issue, it could be an administrative issue, but that was followed by a layoff, and he's been gelded. So it just always gives me a little bit of a cause for pause. Now, both of those races were wins, so I don't really know what to make of him. Last time out, he was 3 wide, kind of hanging on. There was a horse hanging to his inside that he was able to take over, but the next 2 finishers of that race did come back to win. And coming in here, he's sharp. He got himself a little bit warm, but he looks fit enough off of that layoff. And like I said, just a little bit of a cause for pause, and I wasn't really sure what to do with him, especially as a horse that is your favorite at 9-5. The number 5 Cup looks to make it 3 in a row, coming in though from the likes of Ellison Prairie Meadows last time, just able to get up in that effort, but he stacks up favorably with his competition here. Typical sprinter build, really well muscled behind the saddle. He was energetic when he first came in, but has settled nicely. The front wraps do go back on, but overall, I like what I see from him, and looking forward to see how they warm up and who's going to be aggressive early, as there are, Greg, some sharp horses here in this paddock.
And as we usually see with These Steve Asmussen runners, we had the 3 on our screen. They always look beautiful on the racetrack. Wesley Ward, One Giant Leap. There's the 6. And this young apprentice rider, again, a new gelding here, and a horse coming off a big win.
They've been voided claim, like Casey said, the last 2 starts. Now gelding, Walter Rodriguez back aboard. It's good. It is a very good sign that Wesley Ward is here. And here is One Giant Leap. An unusual Wesley Ward horse, Gary. Has not been good out of the gate, and maybe that's why they gelded him. But he's shown finish.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's not a typical Wesley Ward. One thing about Wesley, though, when his horses happen to get left or they don't have that early speed, they always finish with authority, and that's the apprentice that's on his back there that's riding back today.
Coming down Champions Way, we're going to get to our post parade here coming up. And Wesley's runner, 9-5 favorite. A 6 in here. See if he can reproduce that Keeneland magic where he looks so good. Jose Ortiz on your screen has a lot to smile about. Good to be back after serving that 3-day suspension and already in the winner's circle. And there's his brother, the man leading the way at the meet here, Arad Ortiz, who I'm sure not going to be too long before we start calling his name today.
I've got a feeling you're going to hear his name in the winner's circle from Frank Miramati.
And again, those two, Paul, are going to be teaming up for Todd Pletcher in the Fourstardave.
Yeah, pretty potent, those 2 brothers. And I tell you what, Luis Saez, he's a tough customer. He likes to mix it up with them too. And when he comes up to Saratoga, it seems like Louis raises his game.
Here's Dangerous Ride. Blinkers will come off. Jamie Torres rides.
Yeah, and Jamie's having a super meet here as well. He's had 3 winners, but he's had 3 seconds, 9 thirds, or 9 seconds and 11 thirds.
7-1 Thunderian.
I thought this horse was a decent player. You know, when last time seen for this level was a winner.
Should see speed with Commerce Comet.
Yeah, he looks sharp out in the paddock, and he's showing speed in all of his races.
Manny Franco on 10-1 Shot Gabe.
Another horse that does have speed now in the Antonio Arriaga barn.
Another one with some pace here, the 5 Cup.
Yeah, and don't worry about where he's coming from, Prairie Meadows or Ellis Park. He's coming off back-to-back wins for Ron Moquette.
Wesley Ward favorite just went by.
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah, just a kind of a wild card horse. You don't really know what you're going to get, but if you do get the best of this horse, definitely the one to beat.
2-1 right now, and then 10 Cent Town on the outside for Bill Morey, who's had some success at the meet.
Yeah, he hasn't run that many. He's run 9 horses, had 2 winners so far. Gets Dylan Davis, who's having a really good meet up here as well.
Going to get that 7 on our screen here eventually. Still looking at the favorite here, One Giant Leap. There we go. Now I know what it feels like, Paul, to get the off-speed pitches that you were facing in the major leagues.
Yeah, you just never know what's coming. And by the way, got to give a little credit to Reedsdale, the sire. Son of Spitestown that stands here in New York. They're doing a really good job. Some runners. They can run on the turf, too.
Dylan Davis aboard. Apparently a pretty sharp work from this one here at Saratoga as well. But Finger Lakes form. See if it can translate here to Saratoga, different level. As we take a look at the Steve Asmussen runner, this 3. Commerce Comet, and it had been brought up earlier, was not that far away from Rivet. Really talented sprinter just a few starts back. As you take a look at what Steve Asmussen still has to come later in the day, of course, edified in that Grade 2 Saratoga Special.
Pretty good group.
I look for edified to run a big race today.
Yeah.
Look, he was given TDN stardom after his first race. And for those of you out there that don't know what that is, it's Thoroughbred Daily News. And when they give a horse Thoroughbred TDN stardom first time out, they go on to big things. They don't miss too many, and they don't pass them out to just anybody. So I'm keeping that in mind. Never mind the lower buyer. Horse is going to move forward today, and he'll get a lot bigger buyer than the 70 or 69 that he got the first time.
Paulie, meanwhile, what about this horse? Big figure. He took that big leap forward, but he did it at a lower level track, Horseshoe Indy. So what do you make of him?
He's a tough read, right? And look who rode him last time. Walter Rodriguez, who now is on the Wesley Ward runner. You know, you go back to that race where he did lose to Rivet, his stablemate. Rivet was getting very, very good, and he was up on the pace, where Rivet actually came off the pace that day and outfinished him. He's been working at Turfway Park, so I would think he's getting the fitness off of that synthetic. So I think he's a player in there, obviously, but you got to worry about the tiny bit of layoff in the 6. My goodness, looks like a bull.
The what?
6 looks like a bull.
Oh. All
New Gelding trying to win his 3rd in a row.
Well, Gary, explain to people, like a lot of people geld horses not only because they might be a little bit
roguish.
Yeah, but more or not to kind of keep weight off, because some of them like to keep they get too heavy,
They
right?
start getting too big. They start getting thick in the neck, and that horse is plenty big enough. Doesn't need to grow anymore. But Wesley buys a certain type of horse, and he likes to train certain, and they look like quarter horses, like really good-looking quarter horses. That they're just bigger than quarter horses, but that same build. And I think one thing in common with Wayne Lucas, Todd Pletcher, and people that have followed in Wayne's footsteps, they're buying that same type of look, except they've got a look of length to them. Bob Baffert, the same look of length to him, because they're looking for that mile on a quarter horse. And like we talked about yesterday, Wesley, he doesn't care if they go 5.5 furlongs, because they're going to win early, and they're young, and he's bred a bunch of his own horses that have gone on to good things.
Trying to win his 3rd in a row at a 3rd different racetrack. One Giant Leap, the favorite for Wesley Ward. Let's go back to Acacia.
Yeah, and just to wrap up those thoughts of what Gary and Paul were talking about with the gelding conversation, Greg, it is very true that it really will help both with attitude and also to lighten up a horse a bit. Now, he's been in Kentucky. I've never seen him before, but I would assume that it could potentially help because he is a big, burly son of Will Take Charge. And that is typically the type of horse that you expect to see from Wesley Ward. Now, it's funny, he was prancing out on the track, and actually his lead pony, hats off to him, it was fun getting a chance to do that piece earlier on Pony Zevo, but his lead pony, you could see him pinning his ears. He is getting so angry and annoyed with One Giant Leap, but he's such a good egg, and he knows his job, that he's pinning his ears and saying, stay away from me, but he's not doing anything bad. But One Giant Leap has definitely been a handful out on the track, so I would guess it's both physical and mental that they needed to try the gelding. Quickly on the One Dangerous Ride, does take a bit of a drop in class. Prove Right, who beat him last time, was coming out of graded stakes tries and New York bred stakes, and they take the blinkers off today, and he was pretty sharp in the preliminaries last time out, was forwardly placed. He's much more relaxed today at a big price. Thought that he could potentially grab a share underneath Greg.
All right, Acacia, thank you. See how he fares at a price from that inside post with apprentice Jamie Torres as you take a look at our analyst selections.
Speed maybe, the one?
Yeah, I think so.
With the apprentice, you're sending, right? With the one?
This kid, I don't know what he's going to do, but all the horses, he's ridden a couple of horses that generally don't break well, don't show speed, and they show speed with him, and he's not sending them. They're just there. I think he's, from what I'm watching, he's very relaxed in the starting gate. Doesn't try and overdo things, and they're responding to him. He's got great hands. He's ridden a couple of horses that can be difficult, and he's gotten along with them. Horses that tend to. He rode one horse here at the meet that bolts that time after time.
Yeah, time after time. Yeah.
And thing ran straight as an arrow with him. So I mean, the horse does have speed, and I'm sure that. Part of the plan was taking the weight off. Manny Franco rode this one last time out, taking advantage of that weight allowance. The blinkers are coming off. That should be noticed. Horse put blinkers on for the first time, 2 back, and now they come back off today. But I think that horse will probably more than likely be on the lead. Him and the 3.
Yeah, Commerce Comet for Asmussen, not going to be slow. Rat Ortiz Jr. meets leading rider, back trying to get his first winner on this first day back of the Saturday card. There's Dangerous Ride stepping in. Favorite, though, and has been throughout. One Giant Leap for Wesley Ward's second favorite he has sent out on today's card. The earlier one, the filly against the boys on the grass, who weakened in the stretch. We'll see if One Giant Leap can keep his win streak alive from post 6. Let's go upstairs to Frank Miramani.
Okay, Greg, Gabe is the next one to load, following Commerce Comet. Here's Cup One Giant Leap. 10 Cent Town. Goes in. They're in the gate. We've got several restless runners in there. Let's go back downstairs.
Oh, we saw the 5 break through the gate there, Cup, and then the starting gate crew carrying Walter Rodriguez out of the starting gate to get him out of harm's way. And we've been told the 6 now loose on the racetrack. So Outriders will try and catch up to the loose horse.
Yeah, unfortunate situation. Sometimes when these horses, they kind of know when they're in the gate that, you know, they know race day's on and they're waiting for the bell to ring. And the 5 jumped the gate a little bit. And now, if this ever happens at your local racetrack and the horses are running around the racetrack, please do not cheer. We're trying to stop them. Please do not cheer if you ever get that. But it's very, very unfortunate for One Giant Leap because when Cup kind of reared through the gate, I think the 6 reacted, Gary.
Yeah, and he's, I think you can draw a line through this horse now. He's going to be scratched. He's already scratched. He's approaching the quarter pole right now, galloping still loose. Outriders are coming to him right now.
Hopefully he doesn't come in front of the crowd. This is what you don't want to hear because then he gets encouraged to run a little bit faster. But the Outrider just caught him. Excellent job, right at the wire.
These guys here in New York are as good as it gets, pulling these things up. Listen, these horses, these outriding ponies, they are fast because this horse was rolling. He was at top speed when he came, and getting the stretcher out for Walter right now. It appeared, I don't want to speculate, but it appeared it was a leg.
So Outriders catch up to the 6, One Giant Leap coming out. For more, let's go to Acacia.
Yeah, and great to see. Hats off to Outrider Bernice, who was able to catch and apprehend One Giant Leap. And I think it started a chain reaction in the gate. The 4 Gabe was acting up and kind of rushed the gate, pushing on the front of that gate, and that did cause the 5 Cup to pop open the front of the starting gate, and the 6 One Giant Leap to rear up, and he actually landed on his hind end, which is an automatic scratch in New York. So on top of getting loose, that was an automatic scratch because of what happened at the gate. Luckily, looks like he's fine out on track, has been apprehended, and the Outriders, as you guys mentioned, do such a terrific job, and it will escort him back over to the barn area.
All right, Acacia, thank you. So great job again by these Outriders to catch up with the 6 horse, One Giant Leap, and head back to the barn. Obviously, he is coming out in here, and we're waiting to see what else is happening here as we get a shot behind the gate.
Yeah, we need to get a word on see how Walter Rodriguez is, yes, because the protocol that you have is if Walter has to get into the ambulance to get checked out, to go to first aid, you have to have the ambulance back on the track before you can run the next race. So hopefully everything is okay with Walter.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They've got to wait for another ambulance to get out there before they're going to allow these horses to go on the gate.
So in a holding pattern here with this late scratch, but waiting for these safety protocols to go through their motions here. And meanwhile, what happened here, Commerce Comart becomes an even money favorite in this spot. But really got to tip your cap to the job that behind the scenes, what this crew has done, not just the Outriders too, the starting gate crew, to initially try and do everything they could to get Walter Rodriguez out of harm's way.
These guys are getting ready to mount back up, so we should have a go here soon.
Yeah, they're phenomenal, Greg. I equate the gate crew guys, they're the hockey players of horse racing, man. They really are.
They are, talk about always playing injured.
Oh, they are basically the bodyguards of the jockeys. They will take a bullet for the jockey. That's their job, and they're good at it, and it's dangerous.
And we saw it there with them literally carrying Walter Rodriguez out of the gate. So loading back up. Late scratch of the 6, who was the favorite. Now Commerce Comet for the Asmussen Barn, the 3. With Rat Ortiz Jr. becomes the even money favorite. Let's go upstairs. Frank Miramati, the call.
Cup will load once again, this time with a little help from the assistant starters. And 10 Cent Town. Take 2. They're in the gate. And they're off. 10 Cent Town and Commerce Comet going out to battle for the lead. Gabe is in between them. And on the outside comes Cup, who's 4th, 3 lengths off the pace, passed at the rail by Dangerous Ride now. And the early trailer is Thunderian. It's the favorite Commerce Comet, taking them toward the half-mile pole. In hand, 3/4 of a length to Gabe. And 10 Cent Town on the outside. Then Dangerous Ride and Cup, 4th and 5th. Another 2 back to Thunderian. 22-1 for the opening quarter. And it's Commerce Comet. 10 Cent Town moves to challenge in 2nd. Cup is on the far outside. Dangerous Ride at the rail. Gabe between those 2. Thunderian has trailed throughout. Commerce Comet, 10 Cent Town. 10 Cent Town puts his head in front. Cup coming after the top pair, 3rd. Dangerous Ride is down at the rail. They pass the quarter pole in 45-3. And it's 10 Cent Town on the outside. Down at the rail, Commerce Comet is now a length behind 2nd. Cup is in 3rd. Dangerous Ride splitting rivals. Center of the track, belated rally from Thunderian. A 16th to go. And 10 Cent Town. Here comes Thunderian. Thunderian's absolutely flying. Here's the line. Photo finish. It looked like 10 Cent Town just held off Thunderian, but it became extremely close at the wire.
10 Cent Town looks like he may have hung on, but Thunderian motoring down the stretch. Another look.
He held on.
Got it.
Gary Stevens with the fish eyes of all fish eyes. I go, the 7th's home here. Gary goes, who the heck is this horse in the 10 path rolling? I go, oh my God, this is the 2. He's not even on the screen, Gary, when they hit the top of the lane.
I guarantee you that Dylan Davis is, he can take a breath of air right now, but he's still holding his breath because he put his whip away. He didn't stop riding, but he was not asking for like it was going to be a tight photo like it was. And I think he was lucky enough, yeah, it's up. 10 Cent Town did get the money there, but this horse came down, storming down the middle of the racetrack, and I saw a head poke into the screen. I'm like, who is this? 2 horse under Jose Ortiz finishing 2nd.
My goodness.
Dylan Davis breathing a sigh of relief after he saw that horse roll right by him past the wire, but he gets there first.
Wow.
Dylan is riding so good right now and looks so good on a horse finishing right now. It's the strongest I've seen him look.
That was fun to watch.
Really
Comes up short, but what a finish from Thunderian. Not enough, though, in the end here. 10 Cent Town. 8-1 to start off a mandatory payout, pick 5. Obviously, still to come, our big one, the Fourstardave. What do you guys think of Casa Creed?
I like him. Today's my pick to win it. I think it's going to be an exciting race, but I had to circle one, and he's the one I circled.
7 years old. Can he go back-to-back?
I circled Annapolis. You know why? I want it to be a rivalry all year. I think they're going to go at it all year.
It's going to be fun. Coverage of the Grade 1 Fourstardave continuing on Big Fox right after a timeout. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy this early coverage to kick off this Saturday card. Casa Creed still to come. Looking to go back-to-back at a big one. Grade 1 on the lawn to come. Annapolis, the rematch with a horse the Casa Creed beat, Kelso. For Todd Pletcher and his stablemate, Emmanuel, can he step up off the biggest performance of his career in that Grade 3 poker victory? Again, it's